welcome to the Monday evening.
You love ball like I do. After Dark, it's a must listen.
It's where I go to get my hoops fixed.
This is Field of 68 After Dark.
Welcome in, Field of 68 After Dark, Monday, February 3rd edition of the show. And we got a good one planned for you tonight on a Monday. Lighter slate, but lots to get to. Kansas sends a message, makes a statement. You wondered, like, what is this going to be, Jayhawks? I mean, this is your season. At home against Iowa State, 2 out of the last 3. You gag it away. How are you going to respond? And they respond in a major way, obviously putting the finishing touches on that game as we speak, up 18 with about 2 minutes left. It's Overreaction Monday, so we're going to do that, and we're going to do it with these gentlemen, Randolph, Childress, and Wright. I'm John Martin. Got some coaching news as well to get to, some legendary coaching news as Leonard Hamilton is stepping down. So we'll weigh in on that and the future of Florida State basketball and a lot more on the show today. Obviously here on YouTube, we're on SiriusXM, College Sports Channel 84. Fellas, good to be with you as always. But let's start with, I don't know if you want to call it a message, RC. I don't know if you want to call it a statement, but this has been a brutal couple of weeks for Kansas just in terms of, putting the finishing touches on these games. You're up 6 two different times against Houston. You blow that. You're up 19 at half against Baylor. You blow that. That did not happen tonight. And I know it's an Iowa State team that is dealing with some things, but no way around it. That felt like, RC, the response that this team needed to show tonight.
Listen, I didn't expect that. I thought it'd be tough to go in there and get a win, but I didn't expect that type of dominant performance tonight. I know Iowa State's been licking their chops here. They need Chilovich back in the worst way. They've lost some confidence. It's amazing. We were talking right before the show, and Trevor mentioned their season's been derailed on a heave, on a 70-footer, and it's just amazing that happens. And then all of a sudden now we're talking about them struggling. But Kansas, listen, they've had their situational basketball flaws as well, and I think it just shows that how confidence is a fragile thing. Not worried about them, though. I think Kansas will be fine. They responded well tonight, but obviously there's some concerns and aims right now with the way those guys are playing. But I'll see them Saturday, and I think they'll be ready for TCU when they come in town.
And 37-0, I believe, is what Goodman tweeted Bill Self is on Big Monday. You go back home. How do you sort of, I guess, filter through that, though, right? Like this being just a home response, versus like real problems that the Jayhawks may have flashed in the last couple of weeks?
I mean, first and foremost, man, like you got to understand that when a team goes out and gets their doors blown off at the crib from a very below average Kansas State team, like that team is hungry, right? So for Kansas to do what they did, I don't think that's a fluke. I think it's surprising. It's surprising for sure, but I don't think it's a fluke. I do think Kansas has to start getting back to playing Kansas, ball, and Bill Self, got these new players and all that. Tonight was all about defense. It wasn't about scoring. It wasn't about flash. It was just all guys playing to win every single possession. And that's what this game was, man. So, you just got to start on that end. And I know this was a very sexy built team from the standpoint of, hey, we could put up a lot of points. Today they show that they can, not allow a lot of points. And, can that be their identity moving forward? We'll see. But they definitely had the personnel to be able to get that done.
RC, like You guys are both talking about just the margin here, and there's no question about it. I mean, they did build the 21-point lead, in Waco, and we're winning, for the majority of the game against Houston. But does it make those results, like, I don't know, even more confusing when you see what they're capable of on a night like this against? I mean, that Iowa State team, like Ant mentioned, was like this should have been hair on fire for them after getting their doors blown off by that underperforming Kansas State team. But does it make those results like more, or is that just, I don't know, college basketball? It's a veteran team. That's why I ask.
I agree with what he said about, they have to have their identity on the defensive end of the floor. But we've seen this Kansas team struggle with perimeter shooting at times as well, right? And we talked about AJ Store's adjustment. He's been high and low throughout the entire year with these guys. So if it wasn't for Zeke Mayo, I don't know if what consistency they would get out of their transfers and their veteran guys. They were hoping to kind of provide that. What I'd like to see is probably them play more through Hunter. Hunter gets on the post and just goes to work and plays more inside out. I know that's not a traditional way that a lot of people want to play, but if they defend and you run your offense through him, I think he can be dominant when he plays more inside out than facing stretching the D, catching from behind the three. He can knock that down, and I do understand he needs to open up the paint. But when they begin to struggle, I wish he would play inside. I think he forces you to double, and he gets more opportunities, even open looks for those guys. So I think they did a little bit of that tonight. But again, Big 12, I mean, the league is tough too, particularly the teams we're talking about them losing to. Baylor is probably one of the teams I think we all probably expected them to be a little bit better, more consistent throughout the year. But these teams are going to beat each other up and whole serve at home in a way. And, it's going to be hard to get road wins. So Kansas take care of business at home. I didn't have many questions about them from the beginning. Iowa State now, this is 3 in a row. So I think there is some confidence issues. I think they need to get back. They got TCU this weekend. That losing 3 in a row this late in the year, you have some things obviously you need to get right. But I just think the main thing for them is when Childress gets healthy, it provides floor spacing. I think spacing is a big part of why offensively their issue is struggling. I don't care how good you are defensively. At some point, you got to start making some shots to help you out. They've just been flat out struggling on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah, 69-52 the final, and we will handicap sort of the Big 12 and go a little deeper into that race and try to figure out who's coming out. And I want to ask you about sort of the personnel here. Bill Self caught a lot of flack. I guess he's been catching a lot of flack, for the majority of the season when it comes to KJ Adams. Sticking with him as long as he stuck with him in that Baylor game. He started again tonight. I mean, again, was not a great game for him by any means, but what do you sort of read into that? Him sticking with, is it the right decision? Like, what do you just make of that choice in the lineup personnel wise?
You know what? I thought he had a decent game tonight. I'm not going to say he came out and was just killing, just doing all those things, but his energy is infectious. That's one thing. He also had at least 5 dimes tonight. Last time I checked, he had 5 assists. I think the last time he had 5 assists was like UNCW back in like November or something like that. So his passing tonight was really, really special. He was hitting cutters. I like the 2-man game with Hunter. It showed that he does show some potential there. And I think, that kind of goes back to what RC said is, hey, you can attack the paint with this group. And if guys are hitting shots, that's going to make things a lot easier to be able to shrink the defense. And now KJ has shown that he could pass the ball a bit. Maybe Bill Self trusts that a bit more. Not really from him being able to not shoot as much not shooting as jump shots, but hey, create to score and create opportunities, not necessarily for you, but for everybody else. And if guys like Zeke Mayo are getting open and those guys continue to attract their defenders out, you can see more opportunities there for him and Hunter, and even with Flory.
Yeah, RC, you mentioned.
I'll say this: I don't know where all the conversations would come from about benching him or not playing. Who are you benching him for? And you're not he's never been a big time stat guy, right? His activity, to what I said, his activity has been his thing, his motor, his activity, his versatility on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, that's his main contribution to this group. He's not what he gives you offensively is always running the floor, transition, playing off the other guys around him, cutting and things of that nature. So he's won a hell of a lot of ball games. So I can't imagine that they'd ever entertain really benching him.
The argument, I guess, would be you'd bench him for Badunga, like you would put him in over KJ, who did have a hell of a game against.
Yeah, or even like AJ Store or something like that. Yeah, I feel you though.
I mean, you would be really small doing that. I just think he brings a level of physicality, athleticism, and just defensive mindset that I think fits. And I think he allows you more of a traditional where they could guard, they can switch forward, and they're already in drops with Hunter Dickinson. So, but you're talking about if you're trying to do that with Padunga, then how are you gonna? Are you going to go that with both guys? You're going to play in drops, I guess, with both guys. I don't know, man. That's something obviously Bill would figure out. But I just think what he does defensively, he gives them a lot. I don't know.
Before I want to ask about Iowa State, but just to bottom line it on Kansas. Obviously, I don't know if you could have felt worse about them in 2 of those 3 losses. At the bottom, it felt like. Do you sort of feel like maybe tonight RC is one where, all right, we can kind of breathe a little bit now. We kind of got this thing right back on track. Like, how deep would you sort of, look into this one for them?
Well, let's listen. This was a butt kicking, right? I mean, this wasn't pretty from the start. Kansas just jumped out early and just kind of kept them at bay the entire game. They've struggled to score. Shots aren't falling. I thought the defensive effort was there from Iowa State, which is where their identity was. Now with Momcilovic out, you're starting to see teams make adjustments and living and dying, and guys are open. Some guys are getting open. And then what that does is it restrict. When the floor isn't spaced, I thought that the floor wasn't spaced. Guys are driving in the gaps when guys are there, having something. They didn't turn it over a great deal. They're just not. The spacing isn't there, and when Momcilovic gets back, I think it'll open things up for them. It'll open up those driving lanes. It'll create space in driving lanes, and I think they'll figure things out. As long as they're defending, I'm not worried. But hey, this is 3 in a row. So this weekend against TCU is becomes a must win. They get to go home, and all of this started, from a game they should have won at Arizona, right? And then the heaves and it just an emotional letdown. To let you know how fragile confidence is. And that's all it is to me with these guys. It's a confidence thing right now.
Yeah. When you look at the top, you've got Houston, Arizona tied at the top, Texas Tech right there, 8-2, Iowa State, Kansas there at 7-4. And when you sort of look out at this Big 12, Arizona feels like the surprise. I mean, I think top 5 felt good for them coming in, but to be 2 and to kind of have turned it around since Christmas the way they have, if you're kind of, taking the survey of the landscape here in the Big 12, who do you think should be the favorite?
You know what? I mean, look, Iowa State is now 2 games back of second place. No, well, of 3 teams, right?
3.
So you're looking at Houston, Arizona, Texas Tech. I don't know. It's so tough. It's so tough. Arizona has, risen from the dead. Like, they look dead fish in water, right? Starting out 4-5, and they've just been absolutely great since. 11-1 with 5 quad 1 wins in that stretch. I don't know. It's all going to be right there. I do trust Kelvin Sampson and his defense, though. I do think that they have a resiliency about them, and defense travels. Not saying that they have the highest ceiling for the NCAA tournament, but in terms of conference play and just their physicality and the way they could just beat you out for just 40 straight minutes, I just think that just wears on teams. And they will be my favorite, honestly, at this time.
RC, I appreciate, by the way, how stressed out you were. I mean, you really like.
No, because like people take notes and they will wait until like March, be like, "Yo, this you saying this, you saying that." So they just want to get on my head.
Hey, one of my closest friends and like a brother to me is on Arizona staff. So, and I'm still gonna say Houston. You asking
Yeah.
me who I trust? Who I think will be. I think it's Houston. I think this loss tonight eliminates Iowa State from a regular season title. They still can get healthy and win it in the Big 12 tournament, but 3 games they're not catching Houston. I don't think Houston will lose 3 games in the month of February as we head into. They're probably only going to have 2 or 3 games in March before the tournament. So, um, big loss, hurtful one, and this was not expected. I think the Kansas State loss was probably one where you're like, man, you thought they would bounce back from it, but the Arizona loss again was disappointing for them. But nonetheless, it's 3 in a row. I think their regular season title hopes are over, but this team has to have bigger ambitions. They're a team that could very well be in San Antonio. So get Momcilovic back, get healthy, get in the gym, get some confidence on the offensive end of the floor because we know that defensively they'll be fine. They're going to compete on that end of the floor. They just got to start making shots.
Yeah, that's catching up to him. I feel like not having his
Yeah.
shooting ability out there. I mean, and like you see this, right? And like you can survive a game if you're at home and you got like that adrenaline of a guy if he just misses 1 or 2 games. Like I kind of remember Illinois against Penn State. Like Yakachonis missed. He got ruled out right before the game, and Illinois blew their absolute doors off. Like, and that kind of felt like adrenaline. But when you start talking about, 6, 7, 8 games, especially in your conference schedule, like at some point, you're not going to be able to replace that production over the long haul.
Right. Absolutely. And the one thing is that the longer you play that way, the more tape is out on you because coaches have to adjust due to their personnel, right? So as games go, they continue to adjust. But as those games go, other teams are paying attention as well. So if you got scout, you've now seen this 3-4 times. But if the kid just missed last game, you really don't know what type of style they're going to go to. They can switch how they're playing completely. And by the time that you even adjust to it, you find yourself down 10, 12 points. Now you're having to fight back this entire time. So the more time goes, the more teams can easily adjust to your new style of play. So you want to get back healthy as soon as you can.
RC, I'm going to throw this at you, and I'm not going to throw it at you because I'm trying to get a rise out of you, bro. I promise. And I'm not even throwing it at you as if they're going to win or
yes, you are.
I don't even know.
Yes, you are.
I know I'm not. No, because when I explain it, you're going to be like, oh, I get But the best team in America since January 24th, according to Bart Torvik, is Kansas State. I'm not bullshitting. Go look it up. Go look it up. Go look it up, man.
It's like
they're on the rise. I know it's a small sample, but is that too small a sample, RC?
Way too small. 3-game win streak and a 3-game win streak, and we're in February. And we just
you can't post that on Instagram. You can't post that on Instagram. Number one team in America since January 24th.
On your account, don't tag mine. Don't tag me in none of your foolishness that you're doing right now. Don't tag me in that.
After the season they've had,
I would give you Texas Tech before that. If you say Texas Tech, I can be like, okay.
That's easy. That's easy. Yeah. I mean, they're second. They're second.
Okay. So I'm gonna say Kansas State is been in the last 10 days. They've been the hottest team in the country. Is that what you want me to say?
They've been the number one in the country, bro. Number one in the country. Yeah, Kansas State Instagram account. We got to put that up. But RC's not a believer. Ant's not a believer. All right.
Hey, shout out Coleman Hawkins and Doug McDaniels, bro. Shout out Coleman and Dougie.
Hey, I've always thought Jerome Tang was better than what they put out there on tape in the first few months. So we'll see. We'll see how sustained it becomes. All right, got some coaching news that we're going to get to. Leonard Hamilton stepping down after this season. Long, illustrious career. We'll get into his legacy and kind of what the future is for Florida State basketball after this. You're watching Field of 68 After Dark.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Now that the college basketball season is in full swing, you need to make sure that you have access to the best betting tool on the market, the Rhythm app. Spelled RITHMM, is a data-backed app that uses AI and analytics to identify inefficiencies in betting lines and the player prop market that will allow you, the user, to profit. You can create customized, analytics-driven betting models tailored to your personal preferences as a bettor. Users have access to up-to-the-second against-the-spread data. And if you're like me and you understand pictures better than numbers on a screen, Rhythm's internal trend analysis provides you with the kind of graphs that will allow you to evaluate past results and project future performance in a visual way. Every Division I college basketball team is included in the Rhythm's metrics. Free subscribers to the Field of 68 Daily will get 25% off for a Rhythm subscription. Use the QR code on the screen to sign up or download at the link in the description.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark, YouTube, Sirius XM. I'm John Martin, joined tonight by Randolph, Childress, and Wright here on the show. It's Overreaction Monday, and so that's what we're going to do a little bit later in the show. We're going to overreact. But isn't like the whole shtick like we may not actually be overreacting? Like it may not be an overreaction. So we'll figure it all out. We'll get it all figured out a little bit later in the show. But we got some big news. We've had, a run on coaches kind of, calling it quits, hanging it up. And I think it's more so hanging it up for Leonard Hamilton than it is calling it quits. A long, illustrious career here, age 76. I wouldn't believe that. Like if you just said, how old is this man? They're going to tell me 76. Ain't no damn way he's 76. He looks great. He looks amazing. But after he's been coaching since 1971, RC, and this is going to be it for him. Had it rolling there at Florida State in a major way. A lot of people talk about that COVID year. I think we've given 5 or 6 different teams the COVID championship. Florida State, I think, is one of those teams. But what's just your first thought about Leonard Hamilton and just what he did over his career?
I think he should get some collegially get in. He's the Hall of Fame coach. I think he belongs in that same conversation with guys because he's had to build programs. He did the same thing at Miami, and he did at Florida State. There's no question in my mind. COVID cost them minimum of Final Four. Like that was a squad he had in the pandemic, and had that they had every opportunity. I think with the talent on that roster to make a run in the Final Four that year, and that was it. I think his staff, he lost his staff. He lost some guys on the staff. They're no longer getting those guys. He lost CY, he lost Gates. Those guys are together in Missouri, and we see what Missouri's doing. It's a sad day, with Leonard Hamilton resigning, but I'm okay with it. It's time, right? It's time. He's 76 years old. He's been there 23 years. I don't look at it as a sad moment. It's more of a celebratory moment for me because he's a great guy. I'm sure he'll be affiliated with that place a long time. The only thing I wish this was honestly a couple of years earlier, and they just would have slid Dennis Gates in and to replace him because it would have been one of his own guys kind of following. Wow. I wish that would have been something they kind of would have done. Just my personal feelings about the job. I wish they would have done that before he left and went to Cleveland State, or immediately after Cleveland State when he was looking to move on. Had they kind of made a transition where he could have picked his successor. But hey, one of the best. I love him because he's also will tell you how he created a style and how he does. He has his unique style that I think people take for granted, and which has allowed him to be so successful in any league he's been in. More importantly, in the ACC, where Kay and Roy has been in their dominant days. He had a stretch there, even while Virginia was doing well. He had a stretch there where they were as good as anybody. And
how about you?
RC, man, you hit the head, bro. It's talking about that 2020 pandemic team, and I know that there were some teams playing really good ball that year, man. It was Dayton's playing good ball, Gonzaga, Michigan State, Kansas. But like you said, that might have been Florida State's best season to get to their first Final Four, and I think in like almost 50 years, man. It's
Yeah.
tough. And on top of that, man, you're at Florida State. I don't think people
Yeah.
understand how hard it is to go to these football schools that have such a strong identity on the gridiron, football state, football school, and get that support for men's basketball and that recognition from around the country for your program, right? And, I grew up in the DMV, and I didn't even think of Florida State as being a destination for hoop until I saw Isaiah Swan head down there. And I'm like, oh, okay. They hoop down there? Because, look, Isaiah Swan was nice. You don't know who Isaiah Swan is, boy. He was nice. So I'm like, okay, if he headed down there, Florida State's probably the goods. But yeah, man, that's it's tough. It's tough because I grew up watching ACC, and Maryland's in the Big Ten now, but like grew up watching Gary Williams, and grew up watching Roy, grew up watching Kay. Everybody disappearing like ghosts, man. And it's definitely changing the whole landscape of college hoops. It's real sad because things change and things adjust as time goes. It just naturally happens. But it's time to embrace the new wave, and I'm really excited about to see who can take this program to that next level. Because Hamilton did a tremendous job there, and 100% agree. He needs to be in some Hall of Fame honors for sure. Whether it's Naismith, whether it's college hoops, he's got to get his name in somewhere, man.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
to that point.
conversations going around with all of that, right? It's a lot of conversations about the ACC as a whole, as a league. I think this is the final acknowledgement of the ACC's in change, right? Of your veteran coaches. To start the year, you always talked about, all right, Roy's gone, Kay's gone, Bray's gone. And then now you add to that
Boeheim.
list, Boeheim as well. And then now you add to that list the two guys that we were kind of like, all right, the veteran guys. And then we unexpectedly lost Tony at the beginning. And then now you lost Coach L, and then Coach Ham made his announcement. So it is official now. That Hall of Fame class that we had 5 years ago, all of them now are gone. And it's in reality now, and the ACC is in change, and I'm sure they'll figure it out and get coaches in the league will be fine. But it's in today's times where the game is changing faster than everyone seems to be able to keep up with it. The ACC as we know it may not be what we've known it to be honest, going forward, because it takes time to get to build what you had to have that type of stability and them Hall of Fame coaches like that. That's going to take some time because you're in change right now. There's no guarantee you get those hires right the first time or the next time they do it. So it could be, it could be another decade or two before they get it right and have it the way way it once was when it comes to those legendary coaches. So a lot to think about, a lot to talk about. It's scary, yeah. Just think about what the league could look like going forward, because who's ushering us into this next generation. That's why I say I'm happy for Coach Ham that he's moving on. I would have loved to see Dennis Gates, because I think if Dennis Gates was still there right now, I think they're rolling like Missouri's rolling, and you would feel you got a nice young great coach right there. Now, can he leave? Will he leave Missouri? I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if he'd want to, but that's why I say personally, I wish this would have happened and he could have slid right in there. And I think Florida State would be rolling right now, and with a guy that we all acknowledge is really damn good coach.
Yeah, I think he has a huge buyout too. Like I think they made sure that it was going to be tough to pull Dennis Gates away once he got that, and he's got it rolling, man. I agree. He has established himself there this year after a really, really tough last year, obviously within the SEC. So I'm glad to see that. All right, real quick here. We did get our finalists for the Bob Cousy Award list. And and I saw you tweet about this yesterday. There's some names on here. Mark Sears, Alabama, Walter Clayton Jr., Ryan Nimhard, Keyshawn Gilbert, Cam Jones, Ace Baldwin, Braden Smith, Dylan Harper, Zakai Ziegler, Javon Small. We could always nitpick. And I guess when you sort of see this list, what's your first thought, Gripe? What do you make of it?
I don't want to bad talk kids, because everybody puts in hours. Everybody puts in hours.
Bro. They're pros.
Hey, I've been.
They are pros.
But
you know what? They pros.
I feel it's bad now.
Let me put the mic on. Come on, bro. That's right. So look, I'll say the bad. No, I'll say what's wrong with it, and then I'll say what needs to happen next. So first of all, I'll say that Ace Baldwin has not been a top 5 point guard in the Big Ten, let alone a top 10 point guard in the country. Mm-hmm. There's a reason why Penn State has struggled this year, and a lot of that falls on him. And he is a good guard. He's tough as nails. He is a pit bull. He is an absolute dog when it comes down to it. He is having a down year. For him to be on here, and, last year we saw it with Braden Smith, right? Braden Smith didn't make that initial cut, but then he made the final cut. Where is Donovan Dent? I mean, that dude is about to be
19 and 6.
Chilling.
19 and 6. They in first place.
Got his team number one. He gonna be conference player of the year. He should be an All-American. Let's just hope that it's not the same people who make these lists, but he should be an All-American. What he's doing at New Mexico is real special, man. And for him to not get recognized at a national level for the work he's put in this year is just truly disappointing.
It seems like there's a few up here that's a reputation thing, or someone just made their mind up and had him here. I would add Chucky Hepburn to the list. I think what he is a two-way player, and also I don't think people realize. I mean, people take for granted the injuries that team has sustained and what they've been through, and he's been a consistent factor. And as a two-way guard, there ain't a better two-way guard, I think, in college basketball. Like he brings it on the defensive end of the floor, taking the best assignment, and leading that team as the second best team in the ACC, and to take them from struggling early and then bringing them up. They just had a 10-game win streak. They just lost to Georgia Tech, but I don't know why he wouldn't be on the list. I would love to see who made the votes and pick some of the guys. And like Ant said, you don't want to bash a kid, in questioning some of the people on that list. But I don't know many guys on that list have had a better year than Chucky Hepburn. And as he meant, Donovan Dent. I mean, those guys should definitely be considered that. So why they're not, I don't know. But if you were to stack their impact up on that list of teams, I think both of those guys have a larger impact. And I don't know if you want to consider, I say this, maybe they just want to say because they're going technically by point guards, but people need to look up and see what Chase Hunter is doing at Clemson. He's on pace for a 50, 40, 90 year right now. He's like 49.6, 44 from three, and 89% from the free throw line. Like we're talking, like at this level or any level, 50, 40, 90 is hard to freaking do. And I don't know if you just want to say because he's not on the ball as much, you don't consider him your traditional point guard or any of that stuff. I don't know why they're not. He's not on that list either. So we'll see.
We can play that.
And there's guys on here who's been like hurt for a month. I mean, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know when they made these lists, but yeah, it's just not it.
And that's why I say it because it's not like we're going just, when I look at this list, it's just like I'm going off guards because Keyshawn Gilbert's on there. And I mean, he's been good.
Shoe guard, really.
But, right, that's what I'm saying. So that's my point when I say that. So Hunter needs to be on this list then. I mean, you're talking about 17 points a game and he's 40. I mean, like I said, he's 50, 40, 90. You
Right.
put that, and if you want to go off percentages and stats, his team is really good. He's a big part of that. Like I would take his numbers and his percentages over everybody on that every candidate on this list, for that matter. Because I guarantee you can go down the list of every candidate, and not one of these guys' percentages are better than Chase Hunter's. Not one.
Right.
And
I mean, I don't think anybody other than Cam Jones is going to win this. But I mean, if we're going to go down that,
Braden Smith's going to be in there. I think Braden Smith's got a great chance, bro. Great chance to win that.
And so does
what about respect to Cam Jones? He a dog.
What about PJ Haggerty? Does he not have a gripe for not? I know he's not a point guard, but if we're going to go down, I mean, he's third in the country in scoring.
But that's my point when we say the list. That's why I said when we talked about this list, we were just texting about that. Like now you start adding guards.
Right, it's crazy. Pete, what is the difference between PJ and Keshawn?
Nothing.
They're like
they're league guards. They're league
the same prototype. Prototype. Desmond Claude's a point guard, right?
Right.
But because of his size, I'm like, no, he's more of a shooting guard, or we'll put him up for the Julius Erving.
Right.
I just don't think they know. Don't get me started.
I mean, Ace Baldwin's on the list. Like we could just start there. You know what I'm saying? Like that's kind of the issue altogether. So the rest of it, the credibility is definitely in question. All right, look, Overreaction Monday. When we get back, this is gonna be fun. We'll do it when we come back. Field of 68 after dark.
There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that. Would you be surprised to find out that the Field of 68 is home to more than 35 podcasts? More than 25 team-specific podcasts that are hosted by the people that know what fans want the most. The Goodman and Humble podcast, the DTF podcast, the A10 Insider podcast, and the Mountain West podcast. But wait, there's even more. The Field of 68 will be launching the ACC Insider podcast this year. Subscribe to this channel and come along for the ride.
Welcome back, Field of 68 After Dark here on a Monday, February 3rd edition of the show. I'm John Martin, joined tonight by Randolph, Childress, by Wright. And look, fellas, it is Overreaction Monday. And here on the Field of 68 Media Network, we do a little thing we call Overreaction Monday on Mondays. So let's kick it off with this. We're just coming out firing, coming out swinging. Arkansas is going on a 10-game winning streak and making the NCAA tournament. Little Johnny Rancid says, overreaction or not? RC, start us off.
Cut it out, man. Like, seriously, cut that out. No.
Little Johnny Rancid said it, not me.
Yeah, little Johnny, go to sleep, man. It's past your bedtime. Take your ass to bed. He's sitting here talking. Come on, man.
I mean,
cut it out.
Like the 10-game winning streak is a bit much, but it doesn't have to be little Johnny go to bed on the tournament piece, does it?
On a 10-game win streak, man.
We're taking that out. That's overreaction.
I get it. So what have you seen outside of that Kentucky win that'll make you feel like, all right, so they won this game and they figured it out? They figured it all out? That's what we're saying?
Beat Michigan. I mean, there are. I'm not saying it wasn't, but I'm just saying if you're trying to build a case,
No.
You asked me to
Oh,
believe
They
Jason
got a
Boogie?
shot. I'm not saying they're out. I'm not saying they're out by no stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying I don't see them. I haven't seen enough from Arkansas right now to be like, oh man, they figured it out. They're gonna go. I mean, obviously that was an emotional game. You got, so much was made about Coach Kyle, but you got former players that was playing against their old school, and they were amped and they were ready to go. And credit to them, they got it won. There's enough wins and there's enough opportunities that I would never just say they're done. They don't have a shot. The league is just too deep, too talented. But again, I don't know if I've seen enough of them, or I'm not judging them off the Kentucky game, I should say, and say that that's where I expect to see them play every game. That to me is like a one-off from emotions and everything else. I need to see more of that type of effort, more of that shot making before I'm ready to say Arkansas is going on some type of win streak or something like that. And not in that league. That league will be hard to get outside of Alabama, and I don't even know in Auburn will be to get a 10-game win streak. So, little Johnny, go to bed, man. You ain't getting that one. Good night.
Where are you at on it, Ant?
Yo, 10 in a row is crazy. Look. That Arkansas-Kentucky game, I feel that everybody knew and was hopped up on emotion except the Kentucky players. Like, everybody knew what that game was except that Kentucky team. Like, if you really think about it, like the fans, the people covering the game, like they just have so much ingrained with this Cal Kentucky thing, and the Arkansas players pretty similar, right? Cal, he's ingrained in it. The Kentucky players, that's a lot of their first years on that team. I'm not saying they didn't come in that game ready, but it was a little bit different.
And let me ask you this.
Different.
This is what their schedule going in. I'm gonna ask both of you guys this is Arkansas' schedule coming up. Let's go over the next couple of games. They at Texas. What'd you give them? At Texas, Wednesday night.
That's an L.
That's an L coming off that game.
Alabama coming to town after that.
L dog.
It's a loss.
All right, they got Arkansas. They home against LSU.
That's got to be a win.
I think they can get that one.
Okay, and then they go to Texas A&M.
That's an L.
That's also a loss.
Then they go to Auburn.
That's a loss.
Little Johnny go to bed. Little Johnny go to bed.
Missouri coming to town. You get what I'm saying?
Go to bed.
That's
to bed.
That's coming up.
Yeah,
At
they're
best,
not. They got to.
I think they go 3-7. I think they go 3-7 in that stretch. Yeah. Just carnage on the back end here for them. It's carnage.
Yeah, I mean, tough league, lose Boogie Flan. I mean, I think they have a better chance of losing 10 in a row than winning 10 in a row. I mean, like a much better chance of losing 10 in a row. Like they might actually have like 35
win. I think that Kentucky win, I think they're okay. I think they're going to ride that right into the offseason, honestly.
That's right. Yeah, that's it. That's as close as they're going to get to the tournament, man. That's their title game right there.
What number would they need to get in the dance? Right? You're talking about 13-8 right now. They need to get to what to get in the dance?
Ooh,
in that league, can they get to 18 in that league? Can they get 5 more wins? Would a win over a? Can they get 5 more wins with 2 quad 1 wins?
If they win one in the conference tournament, lose one, 1914.
Yeah.
1914 SEC.
Yeah.
That's like a 10 or 11.
That gets you in, right?
But that's a pipe dream, though. You know what I mean? For them to win 6 more, it feels like. I mean,
that is. Yeah.
With that schedule we just had, they're gonna have to steal a game or 2. Can they do that? It will be whether they can make the postseason or not, let alone, forget the 10-game run. Like they're up against it to make the tournament.
Yeah. I mean, if you sweep Texas, beat LSU, and you should be South Carolina and Vandy if this is really what you're trying to do, that's 5 wins and still one against the ranked team, I guess.
They got to me. They got to get more than that. They're outside. They're not
That's the roadmap. I just don't think the car is going to start.
Let's be honest. Arkansas is not in it right now. They're not in it. So can they get the Kentucky win? Helps them. They need at least 2 more wins like Kentucky over ranked opponents in that league, and like everybody else. I don't think there are any bad losses in that league, so I don't think it hurts you. But I do think who they beat is what will be, can they flip it and get in? Like they can lose to anybody. I mean, I know South Carolina's struggling. They can lose to anybody in it, but you can't.
Totally.
You got to figure out a way. Once you get, any of the top 10 teams in that league, they're all NCAA tournament teams. They just need to get I think at least 2 more wins against ranked opponents, whether it's Auburn coming up, whether it's Alabama, whatever it is. They got to get 2 wins like that, I think, to offset what they've already done. And again, try to avoid maybe a South Carolina loss. They get LSU at home again to fix that loss. Other than that, everything else they're looking up.
Yeah, we all agree there. All right, Dagan, what's next? What's our next overreaction? All right, Ryan says Illinois second half comeback yesterday, starting with DGL's hammer dunk, was the turning point of the season. They go on a run and win 9 of their next 10. And then win the Big Ten tournament. Is that an overreaction or not?
Well, he's got to get his math right, first of all, because they only have 9 games left. 8 of those are Big Ten games.
Got
it. So I'll even – yeah, so his math is just way off there. And one of those games is going to be Duke at Madison Square Garden, so I'm not sure if he's including that. But I mean, Illinois does have some opportunities. They did have a pretty decent start to the schedule, but they do have. I mean, they have Michigan State, Wisconsin, Duke. Then they have Iowa, Michigan, Purdue. Like, they have a really tough final 6 games. They should go 3-0 over the next 3. They should. But then the 6 after that, that's tough. You host Michigan State, go to Wisconsin, Duke, Madison Square Garden. Iowa's not been playing well. Go to Michigan, host Purdue. So, no, that's a overreaction. Just from the standpoint of the math, it's just way off.
RC?
I think they could win the Big Ten tournament. I don't see them going on some incredible win streak. I don't see that happening, but they're talented enough to get in the Big Ten tournament and win it. Do I think they're playing well right now? I'd feel comfortable saying that right now, no. But I think, like I've said all along, I don't know if I ever thought they were the best team in the league, but I think they're the most talented team in the league. I think the big, I think it's Michigan. I think Michigan will get it in the regular season. Michigan State, I'm sorry, will get the regular season title. But it wouldn't shock me if Illinois in the Big Ten tournament wins it. They're talented enough to do that.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to come out quite that well, but I did think that second half against Ohio State was like nuts and guts. I mean, that was your second half of the season, really. I mean, like, if you couldn't get that one with the lineup changes and getting the Visage back, and credit to Brad Underwood, because I don't think anybody, and it was a national television game, I don't think anybody could have watched another half where they jack up 15, 20 misses from 3. I mean, it's the non-shootingest shooting team I've ever seen in my life. You would just think at like some point, like, y'all realize that y'all aren't like that, but they just keep putting them bitches up. But obviously limited that in the second half, and it was incredibly effective, man. It's incredibly effective. And so, look, you kind of laid it out. I mean, a lot of those games at home too. Like, I actually think if they continue to do what they did in that second half, they will come out on top more often than not. But yeah, it's just kind of a schizophrenic team altogether. So it's hard to predict, really, what they're going to do.
And find that chemistry. You got to find that chemistry. Tom has been out. Yaka Jonas has been out. Changes to the lineup. just got to find that chemistry again, find that mojo again. And as RC said, this team probably has the highest ceiling when it comes to the NCAA tournament because they have the guard play, they have the pro who's behind the basketball. Got to get him back going though. He hasn't played well in a couple weeks. Might be to that left arm, who knows? But he's got to get healthy. But this Illinois team, their ceiling is very, very high.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And real quick, credit to Colin Boswell for responding. Got benched, and I'll be honest, they don't win that game without him. So shout out to him for responding in a big way. All right, Dagan, what's next? Steve says Cooper Flagg might be the most complete NBA-ready freshman since Kevin Durant. RC, overreaction?
I can't say that it is, and because of how he guards and how he competes. I won't say, I'm not comparing him to, obviously that comparison isn't saying he's Kevin Durant because he's not. He's totally different. But ready to come in the NBA and be a contributor, he's as ready as anybody because he's the one guy of all those lottery guys you're talking about. He's the one guy that we know that's going to come in and compete and guard somebody on the other end. Which matters. So he just, in his overall skill set. I mean, the dude has high IQ. We know what he is. He's getting better and better at it. So I won't say it's an overreaction. I just think he's ready to go. And his competitive, to see his jump, because what's amazing about his story to me about Cooper Flagg is, when he was playing 16s, remember, he didn't play 17U at the EYBL. And then he reclasses up and he goes right to Duke and he's having this type of year. And there were some concerns early in the year. There were some concerns about the team, about him, about that jump. He's answered all of that. So I don't know how you doubt anything that this kid's doing, and what you see from him and how much he's improved. And he's answered every bell. He's delivering right now with that team and in his place. So I don't consider that an overreaction.
And where you at?
Now this is not a comparison. No. This is not a player comp. It's not a player comp. But this is like how I kind of view them. I think when I remember Chet Holmgren coming out, I remember all the COVID stuff was going on and happening. And everything told me about that kid when he was flying around the country playing the top players. And he was trying to play all of them. Like, I remember he was playing, I think it was like against the kid who went to UCLA and didn't play, 6'8", 6'9" kid, wing, played him at like Snoop's gym. And he's just looking for the smoke all over the country. And I'm like, yo, he is a competitor first. Listening to you, RC, man, I kind of had to take a step back from, is he Michael Beasley? Is he Paolo Banchero? Not on the offensive end. No, he's not. But his floor is there anyone else that you've seen with the higher floor than him? And I think even if he struggles offensively at the next level, he's going to be okay. You can't say that about many people that are freshmen, and kid just turned 18 years old. So I don't think it's an overreaction. I do not. Which is crazy to say because he's come a long way.
It is crazy. All right, got a couple of minutes here before we get to toast of the night. Last one here. We got it from Ty. Michigan State slides out of the top 25 by March. RC, Michigan State, obviously one of your favorite brands. Is this an overreaction?
Who said that?
Ty said that.
You said his name is Ty?
Yeah, Ty said that.
Come on, Ty. Don't. You must be a Michigan Wolverine to say something like that. That's the only thing I can think of that you're hoping something like that to happen. Hell no, Michigan ain't sliding out of top 25. Like, nah. You'd be lucky to get them to slide out of the top 15, let alone top 25.
Wow. Big believer in the Spartans this year.
Man.
Listen, it's hard not to. Go ahead. I'll let Ant go. It's hard not to.
I don't think it's overreaction just with their schedule coming up here. They go to UCLA, they host Oregon and Indiana, they go to Illinois, host Purdue, go to Michigan, go to Maryland, host Wisconsin. This is a really, really hard schedule coming up for them, and they haven't played well the last couple weeks either. So they need to get that right. They need to. I think they need to chop down from 10 to about 8 guys that they need to play. I know depth is big for them, but they got to start giving their best players a little bit more minutes, in my opinion.
All right, toast of the night before we get out of here on YouTube and SiriusXM RC. Start us off. Who gets your toast of the night on Monday, February 3rd?
My toast of the night would be Leonard Hamilton, man. Just Hall of Fame career, in my opinion. Made this announcement, and I it's never easy, but to Leonard.
Man, Sweet 16s, Elite Eights was rolling there at Florida State for sure. All right, Ant, who you got?
Shout out to my boy Len, assistant coach at Norfolk State. Brian Moore came up with the buzzer beater victory, had the crowd going crazy, win over North Carolina Central. Shout out my boy. Shout out Norfolk State. Big dubs.
Toast.
Both of those guys should get high major jobs, by the way. Jones and Mooten, they should get jobs. They should.
Man, you're trying to open up another hour worth of conversation about how they treat new coaches, bro.
Yeah, just as we get out of here.
LaVelle been there forever, bro.
He has.
He been there forever.
He has. Look, I was watching it. I might have been the only person watching it, I guess. But UAB evens it up with North Texas 64-61. And I'm going to say this. I think the player of the year stuff is batshit crazy because UAB has underperformed as a whole. They were picked to win the league. They're not going to do that. But I will say this. Yaxel Lindeborg, I can't believe that dude is still at UAB after last year. Like, he is absolutely a dog. And he is going to be the most coveted player in the transfer portal. I ain't trying to put that on UAB, but we got to keep it a buck. He had 17 and 13 tonight in a win that they absolutely had to have. So toast to Yaxel Lindeborg. He's a dog, man.
I know where you want him to go.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not tampering publicly. That's going to do it for us here on Field of 68 After Dark. Thanks for being with us here on Monday, February the 3rd, here on YouTube and SiriusXM. For Randolph Childress, for Ant Wright, I'm John Martin. Make sure, always keep it locked on Field of 68 for the best college basketball coverage in the world.